I'm back in the studio again, and it's actually beginning to look like a real studio. Come, let me show you. Both her legs are on now. Looking good. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the MamMaw Boutique. My name is Chantel, and this is part 3 of my fashion studio makeover series. If you haven't seen part 1 and part 2, you could do so by clicking the links below or above here. This build definitely came with challenges. I had holes in the walls, wonky walls, holes in the floor, and that's what you can see me doing now, actually rectifying the holes in the floor. Well, it's in between the skirting board and the floor. So what I'm doing is I'm filling it in with insulation foil that I had left over from insulating the walls. So I'm just cutting some pieces until they fit and just stuffing them into the hole until the hole is filled. And that will help with draft, and it will help me for when I actually fill it in with polyfiller to smooth it over. I was going to fill this hole with expansion foam, but I'd used it before and it was fine, but then when I went to reuse it, the spout got really clogged up, and I cleaned it and I cleaned it and I cleaned it, but it just was not happening, and the foam just wouldn't come out anymore. So I just abandoned that idea of using the expansion foam and just used foil instead. But I do want to know if anyone knows how to go about this problem. How can you reuse the expansion foam without it all clogging up? Because it just seems like a waste. Let me know in the comments below. Then I filled the hole with polyfiller, and I bought this ready pre-made mix that's in a bottle for quickness, and I just squeezed it out and smoothed it over with a smoothing tool. I filled all the holes around the entire room with polyfiller, so now all the holes are gone and it just needs a lick of paint. Wow, I hadn't opened this paint in about 15 years and it still looks alright. I am so happy I do not have to spend extra money on paint. So it goes to show people, make sure you seal up your paints. Seal up the lid. Look how rusty that is. That hasn't been open for about the same amount of years as well. I don't even know what brand that is. Yeah. But yeah, it's fine. Saving money. One of the many things I've learned in this build is to dip your paint halfway into the paint pot or 3/4 of the way up the brush so that you don't get messy brushes, and it's easier to apply as well. I'm actually going to wrap my desk, and I'm going to wrap it because it's made in with MDF at the moment, and it's funny because I actually do like this color. I don't know what it is. I would like brown, but I'm not going to keep it like that because it's up against a brown wall, which is the cork, which I love. I love the cork, natural insulator, natural acoustic material, no toxicity at all, because it's basically a tree. It's basically the bark of a tree, so love that. But I don't like the two browns together. So what I'm going to do is wrap it with this DC Fix vinyl. I bought this from B&Q. I really like this color because it goes well, I think, with the cork brown, because there's brown in there, there's grey and white, and my walls are going to be white as well, so I think that's a really good color that I've chosen. And I'm also going to wrap my desk, my smaller desk, with it as well. Never done this before, but yeah, let's see how I get on. Wish me luck. So I've been watching some YouTube videos regarding wrapping my tabletop, and they used like a edge like this, like they had this special tool that had an edge like this or even like this, and it had like some cushion in there. So I'm just gonna make my own. I'm gonna use this is one of my tools anyway that I use for pattern cutting. It's a set square, and I'm just gonna sellotape a cloth all along here just so it's not as hard. That's what I'm gonna use to create my tools for wrapping my table. So I began to wrap a piece of cloth on my set square, which you can also use a ruler. I cut along the grid lines at the back of the fix, right up to the top, just one line, and then I flipped it over, and this is so I can stick just a small section underneath, a little bit at a time. These grid lines are really, really useful, and there was a lot of going back and forth. So now I'm just peeling back the underneath so I can stick a small section onto the tabletop, and then I can smooth it out with my smoothing tool. And just, it's all about sticking small bits at a time, like doing it in small pieces. Again, there's a lot of back and forth going underneath and on the top of the wrap, just to make sure everything's in line. And now I'm just peeling back the paper so that it can stick. So my table has corners, so I learned that you need to actually heat the corners so that the wrap becomes more pliable, movable, malleable, and then you just curve it under the table. There will be folds under the table at the corner, but that's okay because you can trim it down, and plus no one's gonna see it anyway. So just keep folding it and smoothing it out until you get the desired look. And here now you can see it's all smoothed out at the corner. There are no folds that are visible. All the folds are under the table. Okay, so I've wrapped the cutting table, and I'm quite proud of it actually. It looks quite good. I think it looks really, really good. It blends in the colour. It's a great colour match with the cork, and it feels nice and smooth. There's no bubbles. Yeah, so let's see how long this lasts. I have no idea. I've never done this before, but I'm happy with the results. Okay, so I have wrapped the small table. It turned out good, so I'm gonna add the legs now. Creating this space means a lot to me because it will allow me to cultivate my creativity, and creativity to me is like therapy. It's done. So I've just poured the paint. I've used this Pure Brilliant White Silk Deluxe because I had it left over from years and years and years ago, like a good 15 years ago. And it was still fine. And I've put it in this container. And I've put plastic so I can preserve the container. Today I am applying cork to the last remaining 2 walls, and my little brother, he helped me pre-cut them, so they're already pre-cut. Here they are on the floor. They've been, what do you say? How do you say that term? Climatizing. They've been climatizing to the temperature in the room, and I've laid them flat so that they can flatten out because they came out on a roll. And this is the wall I'll be putting it on, and also this wall as well. So it's going to be all along this wall. 2 walls, and I've labelled them, I've numbered them so I know where each one goes. So we've got 1, 2, 3 and so forth, and I've also labelled the cork as well. So I'm going to attempt to glue them, all the cork onto the wall, 2 walls. Organisation was key at this point. I had to basically just arrange all the panels in numbered order, and working with a tight space was challenging, but it was okay. I managed. So I just laid everything out on the floor in order, number order, so it was easy for me to grab. This section was quite tricky. This is the ventilation. So what I did was I actually created a paper template, and this helped me to use the template and then place it onto the cork wall after I traced it out. So that all I had to do was basically just cut around the template. So now I'm getting ready to glue the cork panels, and I used a sponge roller and just applied the glue. It's very easy to do, and I'm using the MamMaw contact adhesive, which is a much better alternative than the other toxic brands that are out there. I applied the contact adhesive to the wall as well as the back of the cork panel. This allows it to be securely stuck to the wall. It's done. The cork panelled walls are up. And finally, I've come to the end of the fashion studio makeover. Let's remember how the space was looking in the beginning. There were tools everywhere. It was a very cold and bare room. It was very uninspiring. Holes in the wall. Just not a nice space at all. And now the transformation. In all its glory, the star of the show, the cork wall against the fabulous minimal wardrobes with sliding doors, and my sewing table, and of course my standing cutting table where I'll be cutting many a designs. I hope you have enjoyed this episode, part 3 of my fashion studio makeover build. I hope it has inspired you to create your own spaces that you love. And so now the fun begins, where I decorate the space and make it my own. So until next time, look after yourself and remember to create your unique style.